Heidi, howdy, hody. This is Jail for another Weekly Shonen Nonsense for January 5th? Wait. Yeah, I know it's January 7th, 2024, but the comics came out on Friday this week because it's the double issue. But whatever, we'll talk about them now. One Piece, Chapter 1103. And right off the bat, we're out of the flashback into a soft flashback. Yeah, we get Bonnie leaving the flashback, going to Vegapunk and apologizing, realizing her mistake of who she was actually trying to fight, and then it comes back to the present, where of course Bonnie is facing the actual jerk who did the actual thing. Yeah, Saturn is still holding on to her, still being very patient, is waiting for his men to actually open fire, and we discover a few things. One is that Saturn is not the father. The official translations come out, and of course, it's revealing that he's not actually the father of Bonnie. He's just, a guy who's experimenting on other people's wives. You never stop saying he was a bastard. He's still a bastard, but he's not the bastard. We don't know who that is. But whoever he was had 8 wives and was willing to give up one for experimentation. And apparently he gave her the disease, not understanding that it was going to be hereditary, meaning it was going on to Bonnie. So he's like, "Well, that's funny." When Kuma came by to ask for help, and used that to leverage Kuma to become a soldier for him, regardless, returning to slavery, even though it was actually his fault this happened in the first place. Again, a right bastard. And he's still a bastard trying to kill Bonnie with, multiple headshots. However, then kerfuffle happens. Luffy, who's been downed, is still on the ground, but then suddenly is surrounded by food, which he starts, auto-eating, because that is Luffy's will in life, is to eat food. And Saturn being very confused by the entire affair. Of course, he's also confused by the fact that Bonnie about to throw out a Nika-like future, but it bounces off of him, leading to an explanation of how Bonnie's powers work. While she can imagine a future that's like Nika, if she doesn't have a solid understanding of what a Nika is, she can't really imagine the future very well and have it be strong. So as her will wanes a bit, having known the reality of her situation, she can't really manifest the power as well, and it doesn't work against Saturn. To his delight, or at least just okay, avoiding that, dodging that bullet. But of course, quite literally out of the blue comes Kuma. As of course, that's what he's been doing this entire time, is he's been running towards Egghead for one reason or the other. He then proceeds to batter through the Marine forces, grab Bonnie, stop her from being skewered by Saturn. Grabs Saturn, is about to punch, and chapter ends. Yeah, this is going to be a satisfying punch in the next chapter, though I doubt it's going to be the definitive blow that ends the fight or ends the arc or anything. He's clearly going to survive. Saturn is, and Kuma probably isn't going to make it. There's a lot of evidence that says, he's not longed for this world, especially considering he's been battered and bruised and stabbed by Saturn, who, is the embodiment of death at this point. So we're looking forward to seeing where this goes. We're on break, of course, next week, so pain. We're not going to be seeing a new chapter till the 21st, so this is going to be a long one. Otherwise, though, great chapter. I really appreciate how Oda's, transitioning from flashback to modern day, with kind of couching the flashback in narrative, like this is what Bonnie saw, and thus she's remembering what she saw in the memory that she took in. So, overall pretty cool. Again, looking forward to the next chapter. Shadow Eliminators, Chapter 5. So, some stuff and things happened. Yeah, this chapter is basically focused on Asakaze going off on his morning jog, running into Grandma, and meeting up with Kuromori in his training forest, where Grandma then tasks them to play ball tag in order to train. They do stuff, and then eventually Asakaze is like, I'm just going to get stronger for you, and Kudomori is like, nah, bitch, and they, have a little, like bro argument before the chapter cuts to the end, where apparently a shadowy group of eliminators or shadow eliminators are trying to eliminate the competition of shadow eliminators by eliminating the shadow eliminators that are in the village, Kudomori. Yeah, it's a bit generic, to be honest. Like, nothing offensive. It's not like hurting my sensibilities or anything. Nothing, like completely untold or unrealistic for a Shonen Jump story. Just it feels like the bare bones minimum of this kind of story. We're getting like a main character, Kudomori, who is like trying to ape a lot of the things that other main characters from other works do well, like Ichigo, where he's like a warrior in a land, and who is set upon by other warriors of the same ilk from other lands, causing trouble, like in a soul society. Doesn't like Ichigo being a soul reaper and sends a guy out to take back Rukia, his plucky sidekick, and then Ichigo goes off and saves Rukia. In this case, Kudomori is now being targeted by this guy who's working with the other Shadow Eliminators. So it's going to be a similar thing, sort of, maybe, or something similar to maybe like Uryu. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The point being is that it's trying to ape this stuff, but never really feeling like this, because Ichigo is a character. But I've badmouthed Bleach in my younger years, and I can at least stand by Ichigo being a good character. He's not the greatest character. He's not Luffy, but he has a solid intro. He's brash and upstanding to people he actually likes, and but when his real family, the people he really cares about, are in danger, he's willing to break bonds that would like bind other weaker men to gain power in order to protect them and everyone else around him. This guy Kudomori doesn't really feel like that. We don't really know his backstory yet. He's sort of a mystery, without really any of the extra stuff to explain or give us more info about him. So, just generic. Again, nothing offensive, nothing like truly terrible or insane, but that's sort of an issue if you're a Shonen Jump comic. You have to have a hook of some kind, right? You have to have something that pulls the audience in and says, I'm important to read. And currently, this feels like it's like just trying to say, like, yeah, I'm like JJK or Bleach, just read me, please, which is not a strong argument for it. So, looking at a cancellation, but give it some more time. It's at least needs to get its first volume out. Green, Green, Greens, Chapter 6. Alright, so the competition is heating up, considering Haru kind of, got at a good, 281 yards last time. Hagio struggles at first to match him, but then goes straight all out and hits a good 298 yards for his final swing. Haru, then realizing he hasn't really been pulling his full weight into his swings quite yet, just trying to get the form down, takes his last big swing and lands at about 312 yards, which is insanely far for a golf swing and an actual drive. So again, he wins this little pissing contest. And that sort of ends this bit of the manga, where we're now having, joined the community. He has now established his foothold in it as a member of it, beating the biggest dick in town. And of course, that can mean we can move on. Well, again, a golf manga is very fine enough. I've seen wackier things. And this means that we can finally get out of the driving range. Again, it's a good starting point for a person trying to learn how to golf, but the course is the more important bit. We need to see him calculating how to use what clubs, how to angle his hits to go where they want, or he needs them to go, and actually having a competition coming in who are also golfers that can rival him in one way or the other. Again, it's a sports manga. We have to kind of go through these beats, at least at the beginning or something close to the beginning, if we're especially establishing a kid learning the sport alongside of us. But again, if we're going to be stuck on the driving range, though, I'm going to be a little upset because this is a little boring. Especially considering all we just did was a pissing contest. Nothing really important. Just a guy going, yeah, I don't like you here. And the other guy going, well, I'm going to be here because, the employer allowed me to be here. So it's okay. I can't really say it's bad. I can say it's golf. It's definitely golf. 2 on Ice, Chapter 15. Takayuki Sora, showing us how being a creep doesn't mean you have to be ugly. So yeah, the chapter kind of continues off of that creepy attitude that he had with apparently Sora coming into the story directly. Now, we start really with our couple learning how to do the death spiral and realizing that, yeah, you kind of need some good lower back strength to be able to do that. And, a lot of trust in your partner. Meanwhile, apparently, Sora went off to Canada and is secretly learning how to do doubles. Yeah, even though he's a singles man mostly, he's, trying to find a pair to, get himself into competitions against his ex because he's a creep. And, we also get a moment where he wows the lady of the other pair, and she's like, "Oh no, your big, strong, handsome arms," while her boyfriend's like, he's just a friend, right? He's just a one-time thing, right? Yeah, NTR on Ice is not appreciated in this house, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, just as the main couple here is just trying to learn how to do the death spiral together, figure out how their compatibility actually works, suddenly Sora actually shows up and starts to menace them. Or attempt to. Clearly Kisara is a little bit more perturbed by the entire thing, seeing her ex, coming out of the woodwork and starting to be a problem. Meanwhile, our boy actually just looks up at him and says straight up, "Okay, how did you do that quad axel?" Just completely ignoring the whole menacing trauma that he's trying to induce onto his ex. And just going straight to talking shop. So again, while a little tactless, it's still pretty good to disarm the jerk with a little bit of humor. So it's all right. Still wordy as all get out, but again, art can be pretty at points, and clearly he's trying to say something, or at least running towards a finale, because we're getting the big rival character now, an official big bad that feels more endgamey than it is like just transitory into the next step of the process. So, it's alright. Can't really say much about it, though. Don't remember much nowadays. Kagurabachi, Chapter 16. To be together again, if only it lasted. Anyway, the chapter begins basically as the last chapter ended. Char and Chihiro are together, eating their sandwich. Well, Char is. As they're, walking towards the exit, Char then has a flash and realizes, oh, I can heal people, and proceeds to heal Chihiro's actual hand. Now he can go back to being left-handed as opposed to trying to use his sword and killing people with his right. And as they leave the building, of course, Chihiro notices something. They meet up with Shiba. He hands Char Shiba and faces down his last opponent, Sojo. And if you're wondering, wait, Sojo? Wasn't he fighting that other group? Yeah, funny story about that. So, yeah, apparently Sojo over the past few days has been actually getting a lot better at using Cloud Gouger, to the point where he can actually release Mei automatically or remotely, rather than being right next to the sword or even holding the thing. And, of course, the interval is a lot shorter now, which just completely shattered the plans of the other party, as well as leading to their rending, really, as they're all cut up and left in chunks on the beach. So yeah, that's a party wipe. And Sojo, getting back to the facility after all this time, runs into Chihiro. Both men are wounded, though at the peak of their power at the same time. The chapter then ends with them disappearing into the fight, which only promises to be 12 seconds. So, chapter might be short next week, but no, still, it's really good. Just really phenomenal work here. I like again. I'm always been kind of poo-pooing it a bit because it's new and flashy, and new and flashy does not equal staying around very long. But if this is being held up by the West, if this is being held up by a lot of people liking this kind of work, I'm happy because this is really good. I mean, yeah, it's a little kill crazy. I mean, again, we got introduced to about 6 new characters who all got, killed like 5 chapters later. We're not looking at a long lasting hero group here. They just keep being killed off so quickly. But hey, I've seen weirder things. Again, I'm hoping this doesn't get canceled because it's treading on the grounds of other things like Chainsaw Man or JJK. Though I don't think they quite have the same energy as this. This feels more Bleach slash JJK or Chainsaw Man rather than just straight JJK or Chainsaw Man. And because of all the Chambra sword shit, yeah, it's literal swords and sorcery, and it seems to live and revel in that kind of idea. So again, pretty good. Looking forward to the next bit, even if it is going to be like a 1-2 slash and then it's over. Mama Yu Yu, chapter 17. Make them kiss. So anyway, chapter starts with Capsula being stripped naked. Apparently, if she doesn't have clothes on, she would be affected by her own freezer sigil. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Captcha's like, yeah, whatever, I don't need a power, I'm just gonna die anyway, and my goals don't really need me to be alive. This then prompts a small end clone to come out of her and proceed to eat her arm, which then has, out of nowhere, Grisha apparate into the scene. Yeah, so Grisha then takes the end, eats it, and then tries to revive Capsula's son. And it works for about a second before the clone melts, and Grisha's like, see, this is why I need a stronger, sigil. This isn't enough for me to revive the dead. Come on. You got to give me more than this. Corleo then points out why is he here, and like, how dare you, and you're an evil bastard. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And Grisha's like, I'm just unleashing all these people onto you because I'm trying to whittle down your numbers. You're my enemy. I don't see how you don't understand this tactic. Corleo then tries to offer up his sigils, going, hey, just take my stuff and leave, please. You'll have your stuff. Just stop hurting innocent people. Grisha's like, I still don't think you understand. You're not strong enough. Did you not see me taking hers? Someone who was, comparable to you, and it didn't do what I wanted, so it's not gonna fly, Chief. Which then leads to Minerva reappearing. Minerva saying that she beat her opponent off screen and offers her stuff. Grisha's like, that doesn't make any... And then immediately, like, a little light bulb goes off in his head, and he goes, oh, yeah, no, that's perfect. I'm going to steal you and capture Minerva, and then Corleo's going to have to come after her and save her. And everyone's like, that's really stupid. And then Minerva agrees to it. Corleo tries to talk her out of it. She then starts to make out with him to shut him up. And of course, he goes, yeah, I'm going to definitely save you, just please, and then makes out with him again before walking off with Grisha, which just causes, the entire event just causes Grisha to blush, along with Alicia, of course, before they all leave. So, it's all a good chapter, honestly, nothing really terrible about it, though I will note something. This entire thing was premised on the idea of, like, 4 individual people coming into the fray and causing trouble, being big fights. And then it ends with, Minerva being captured and brought with Grisha out, and Minerva immediately going to make out with Corleo, causing this strange love triangle to appear and then get resolved within mere moments. Is this getting canceled? It feels like it might be getting canceled, which is sad. I really like the general appeal of this, and the story arc is funny, and that last little bit was freaking hilarious for us. like out of nowhere as it was. But and hey, just gonna say this out loud. Grisha is a great villain. He's magnetic. He's clearly goal oriented, but just loving the entire event, like just laughing his ass off. Like, oh yeah, you really punched me there, Corleo. That was great. I'm really glad to see you're improving. Man, it's so good to see you being stronger. I'm so proud of you. Like, really. Like even the blushing at the kiss is funny just because it's like, oh, the big bad's like, oh no, the kids making out, like lovey-dovey stuff. It's so embarrassing, kawaii. Still funny story and really good chapter. Again, fearing this being canceled because of its rushing things through, but it's still not bad. Martial Master Asumi, chapter 28. Now, if you actually used fencing techniques, you might not have lost. So, the chapter begins with Ayako trying to use her thrust to get in on Now, and it immediately backfires on her as she's counter-hit, brought to the mat, and armbarred into submission. Now wins handily. Or really, armily and grabbily and whatever. But regardless, Now wins her fight, triumphantly jumping on top of the cage, looking at her actual goal and giving her prompt "You're next." Then she runs off to see Now and get into his corner as his fight is next. We get a little bit of a pullback to see the preamble to the fight, the weigh-in, where Shotaro basically goes, "Yeah, this is gonna be my last fight. If I lose, here's hoping I achieve victory because I'm gonna try." And Nito, being the good kid, doesn't actually try to trash talk or undermine Shotaro's opinion. Just says, "I'm gonna keep going for it. I'm trying to get to my brother. I'm trying to go pro." And the fight begins. We see Shotaro has decided to shave off his luscious locks for some bald beauty to display his determination in order to win. Of course, Nito jumps in the ring, literally, and gets ready to gear up and fight this bout, his pro debut. This is good. I really like this series. Again, maybe I've been cursed by Baki and Hagure Idol into liking pugilism, so this is a good sports manga. Can't really say too much else. The art's been great. The fight choreography is amazing, panel to panel, and with this we're going from one spectacular fight into possibly a big moment for Nito's character. He's going to have to pull his weight and show us as the audience that he can really dish him out too, and take on a veteran with his skills. Again, great fist fighty stuff. Pure Shonen Jump goodness. Nue's Exorcist, chapter 33. Well, we're in some dire straits, aren't we? So yeah, the story continues on with the reveal that, they're trapped in the village by the little gremlin we met last chapter, Karasu Tengu. He's just basically protecting the village by having the villains stuck inside so that they can take care of him and get back the artifact that, revives Hyo's. And as he's explaining this to our little gaggle of girls and one guy, the villain group gets sort of haughty and immediately shows up, steals two of the girls, and vanishes. Apparently, Shiroha and Suo get taken, but not Shitotsu for some reason, which I'll get back to. But of course, now that they're captured, the villains have them. Gakuro wants to save them, but Shitotsu's like, we should leave. We have reinforcements coming. We could just go out there, meet them, and then rally so we can go and save our friends. But Gakuro's like, but I want to save them myself. They're my waifus, I think, maybe. Shitotsu's like, that's stupid. I'm giving you 3 seconds to give me an actual good reason. As she's getting to second 3, Karasu Tengu's like, I like drama, and then feeds a bunch of his energy into Gakuro, which allows him to basically do a full body view of the entire facility, finding where the actual girls are being trapped with other girls, and the actual big bad of the arc, who then notices, oh, you're looking at me, aren't you? And gives him a creepy smile before the power drains. And just as she's counting down to three, Shitotsu, Gakuro then looks down at Cross Tengu and asks him straight up, hey, is there a spell that uses girls that allows them to break barriers? And wouldn't you know it, there is. So Cross Tengu's like, yeah, he's probably gathering all these girls to do that. But for some reason, Shitotsu wasn't one of them. I don't quite understand that. And Gakuro's like, well, we gotta stop that spell. Come on, let's go stop that spell. Like, it's more important to us to stop that spell and save our friends than leave and possibly let them die because we let them do that spell. And Shitotsu kicks him and goes like, fine, I'll go take care of it. And he's like, no, I'm going with you. He's like, fine, I'll take you with me, God. This leads to the end of the chapter revealing that, yeah, one of the people guarding the actual hostages is the level 3. And then the big bad tells our girls, hey, you try to escape and I'm going to kill all of you. Okay, thanks, bye. The girls are like, we'll be fine. Clearly Gakuro's going to leave the barrier, get our reinforcements, and come back to save us. And then they overhear a guard going, there's these two idiots coming over to try to save the girls. It's a boy and a girl. And then Suo and Chiroha are going, ooh, we gotta escape, don't we? So, good chapter, a good build up to this next big fight between the level 3 and the big boss and Gakuro and Shitotsu. Again, is sort of weird why they're stealing girls, but they don't steal Shitotsu. Just Suo and Chiroha. I don't get it. There might be some weird, explanation, some spell or some magic that, old Japan has, but sexism is still sexism. The plot's generally okay. It's all right. Nothing really to write home about. So, it's okay. My Girlfriend Gives Me Goosebumps, chapter 26.5. The penultimate extra chapter to this series, as we're running straight into the finale next week. The chapter is basically just all the extra characters giving boyfriend Kun a little bit of grief for trying to off himself, which then leaves them all nodding and making some final jokes. Again, didn't really get it talked about this because it was on an off week, of course, but generally it's sad to see a series like this go. It was not a bad run. It lasted over half a year, which is better than most things do, even though if it only lasted to the 27 chapter mark, as opposed to going to chapter 100 or something. But the premise was kind of falling apart near the end and wasn't able to really keep itself up with with where it was going, and never tried to do the really disturbing things a premise like this can allow. Again, it's a yandere story. It's about a girl with disturbed levels of affection and a boy who's willing to take those in. You could have gone in weirder, darker places with it, but it tried to play it too safe, and unfortunately it fell apart because of it. Again, sad to see it go, but that'll be for next week. Kill Blue, chapter 36. If I had a choice to bathe with myself, I don't think I'd take it. So, the chapter begins with Otohime bathing with herself and having a conversation with herself. It's sort of just trying to establish her life view of boys and girls can't be friends. They can only be, boyfriend and girlfriend, because eventually they'll like each other, babaka. And, running into this competition is them trying to use that ideal to break up Norin and Ogami's fake relationship. Which then cuts to school, where Ogami and Norin are acting like surfer bros, coming into the school with tans and hang-tanning their hands. They resolve their, confident with their idea they're going to be beating Otohime at her own game. The competition then begins, where they get into their surf gear, go off on their boards and start taking on waves. They get an explanation of the rules, like the bigger wave, the better points. You can, if you're closer to the crest, you get to take the wave. It'll be considered yours. However, you have to ride it to completion to actually get the points. So you can't just whiff, but then get partial credit. Of course, the battle begins. Norin takes a smaller wave, not a big honker of one, but is able to ride it out pretty well. Keeping a skillful handle of the situation before turning back while on the beach and declaring her love of friendship with her friend Ogami friends, which just makes everybody shake their heads like, man, we miss you just being like the demure female stereotype. Where did that go? We need to start being a goober like Ogami. So funny chapter. It's good to add some levity while actually having the stakes being illustrated with our villain essentially talking to herself, literally. So it's all right. Can't really fault it in any way. Art's good. Paneling's nice. Again, the jokes are funny. I'm a little worried about some of the translation, but you can deal with that, I think. Either way, hey, it's lasting quite a while. 36 chapters, nothing to sneeze at. Hopefully, it can go for several hundred more because I like the series. Cypher Academy, chapter 55. It's coming down to a numbers game, literally. So yeah, the penultimate battle here is all of the characters saying numbers and dancing. So they have to say a number that's at most 3 digits, and as they go down the line of people dancing, the final one has to add them all up. They can't repeat numbers, and they keep having to dance. This isn't really that serious of a competition, clearly. Like, the characters are just dropping like flies, because they clearly can't keep up. And, you have a professional dancer as a part of this. There's no way he's going to lose. This is really dumb. Especially considering it ends with a technicality. So Iraha says a number at the very beginning, and then through some clever trickery, they get Amity, anonymous, to say that number at the very end. That's it. Like, they force her to say that number because it's added up right. She had no way to win. They basically forced her to lose. And that means that Villain Girl and Iraha are moving on to the final level, and hopefully the end of this entire ordeal. This was really, really dull. Like, yeah, it's at least making the artist do something more than just people posing dramatically while solving crossword puzzles, but it's still not that interesting, and the running commentary doesn't really help because it just illustrating the point that we are just have mouthpieces for the author at this point, just saying things to observe and not actually be characters. It's not good. It's dumb. I'm really looking forward to this being like the end of the series. I doubt it. I imagine there's going to be some like, oh, he's the Code Emperor, but now there's the Code Gods, and then we're gonna have like the Americans doing something, and we the great and powerful Japan, I guess, are going to do something and fight the Americans or some other group, maybe the Russians. I don't know. It's hackneyed writing. There's probably gonna be some kind of weird bullshit they're going to do with involving the morgue. I mean, we literally have a villain that's sitting in the back watching the entire affair, so clearly she's going to be doing something at the very end of this. But I'm hoping it gets the axe soon. It's lasted like at least a year, and that's a year too long for this kind of shenaniganry to continue. Akane Banashi, chapter 93. You just gotta appreciate Akane's fat head. So yeah, taking her the words from Chocho last time of her only using half her strength, Akane goes, oh, that means I can go full strength at some point, right? And unlock this new potential. So Chocho's like, okay, so what you're really doing is you have so much stuff. You're so talented. You learn so much, but that might be holding you back. Not understanding this, Chocho then tells her, okay, how about this? For the next 2 months, you can't perform the Tanuki story with Edo dialect. Now, to make this make sense, Edo dialect means the dialect at the time that the actual story was told, the way she's been practicing. So now she has to perform it with her own words, which then gets a kind of be, confuddled and not understand what that actually means. So, like, what are her own words? Like, does she modernize the story? Which then leads to the translators having the Tanuki go, lol, I'm being canceled, which is peak and funny. But this then leads to Akane inviting her high school buddies to, karaoke to figure this out. The high school buddies going, we're not here for that, we're just here for karaoke. And laughing at her choices of music. Jumbo then actually pulls up a little old story. Well, Jumbo and the rest of them pull out a story from their past of Akane, when she's accused by Jumbo of something, using Rakugo to get out of it. And at the time, she wasn't using a different dialect. She was just speaking as Akane and, using Rakugo as a medium to explain her point. So we might be getting a hint of what Akane is going to do with the Tanuki story going forward, which is great. Then at the very end of the chapter, we get Chocho going to Shiguma of all people, and kind of having a little discussion about the past, specifically about why the actual class got completely canned. Because they don't believe it just because of a lack of talent. I mean, there can be, but that doesn't paint the actual story. And we're hinted at something called the Lost Shigama Art. So we're not quite sure what's going on, but there's intrigue happening. I like this chapter. I mean, I just like Akane as a character, and this is just showcasing how much of her that exists on page and why she's such an enjoyable character. I mean, literally being told you're not even hitting the most of your ability, and taking that as that means I can get better then, and I can continue to improve, and like her lust for more ability and like Rakugo expertise is admirable. I really enjoy her. She is the Rakugo version of Goku, and that is not a bad thing. So it's pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Tanuki story is going to be in her voice, and like how that's going to actually like stand with the audience. Like the true modernization of Rakugo is trying to get out of the old and in with the new, and I'm really curious about like what this lost art is, this Shigama's art that is going to be displayed. So, hey, all great. Blue Box, chapter 132. B-ball is life. So, this chapter is a rare one, actually. It's actually mostly primarily about Chinatsu and digging into her, thought process and background. It's actually quite enlightening. And a little obvious, but hey, it's not bad. We understand that Chinatsu really isn't just a basketball player. Basketball is her life. It has been her life for ever since she first had that fleeting thought of being a basketball player, seeing that on TV and marveling at it. So she got into it, got good at it, kept practicing, met a rival who was talented out the gate, had a desire to join them and become better with them, but then they got lost somewhere along the way. And it's back. It's great that it's back, and she loves it. She sees Yumika again, but with that, Yumika is standing her way, much like her own life, as we kind of flash into a moment that really is the beginning of the series, where her parents sit her down and tell her, we're going to be leaving the country. We are going to be leaving the country. And Chinatsu just can't have that. She's lived her life trying to be the best basketball player she can be, get a team together, get to nationals, win nationals, and be the best at the sport that she loves. And losing that, she may be gaining more friends, and she might be like playing basketball somewhere else, but that's not the same thing. And that she could be losing that part of herself. She could be losing that identity, and she doesn't want that. And right now, Yumika's facing off against her, keeping her from going to nationals, keeping her from achieving that fleeting dream that she once had as a child. It's grown into a like real passion and drive for her. So she moves forward, and with the final shot of her taking a 3 point a 3 point shot, she says, "I get that." It's really good. Like this comic continues to be a very emotional and driven comic about two characters and their desires not only for each other but also for their sport of choice. And this is a very rare time we get to see basketball really taking center stage and being as like overt as it is. So hey, I'm really looking forward to the next beat. Like, is Amy Ame just going to win, or are they going to struggle further? I mean, they're only in the 30s. Basketball games can get into like the 50-point range, so it's a bit weird if it just ends at 38 or 40. So, hey, regardless, great chapter. Can't recommend enough. Blue Box is really good. Witch Watch, chapter 139. This is just about Suika. That's all it is. It's just a Suika chapter. Like, at some point, to try to entertain Nika, Keigo makes a ripoff of Suika. The gang plays it. Morihito gets a little bit too obsessed. They help him out in getting the coveted two big round things in the container, which unlocks a secret new game plus, which is just the same game again, but with more giant circle round things, which everybody then goes, yeah, no, we're going to stop paying attention. Curse you, Keigo, and your bad gaming habits. It's dumb. It's really dumb, and because clearly the author is just really into Suika at the moment, or was at the time of writing this, and releasing this chapter well into the fact that Suika's probably on the outs at this point, and new games are coming up with the horizon. We're in the new year. There's going to be some new hotness that's going to be taking the world by storm, and Suika is going to be falling on the wayside soon. But I've missed this. I can't help but miss this, because for the last half a year, it's been mostly the disaster arc. We've hit the disaster, we've passed it, and now we're into this dumb niche. Like I was like reading this magazine today, or I was playing this game, and I wanted to put in my comic kind of writing that I've really missed from Witch Watch until now. So hey, I can't fault this for being a like moment of just grabbing onto a bit of bandwagon behavior, because this is just what Witch Watch is. Just really dumb, but really dumb in the fun way. Sakamoto Days, chapter 150. Slur's goons are on the attack, and the Order answers them in kind, with the long-haired one taking on the three lesser goons, while Gaku gets negotiated with by Nagumo. They say, let's pretend we didn't see each other, before, clashing with Gaku's club that is also a gun, and Nagumo's switchblade level thing. They duke it out a bit, and the chapter ends with Nagumo getting one good slice on Gaku. I don't think that's the end of this fight. Not much else to say. This is just a big dumb action chapter. I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, go into the existential realism of that one guy getting grabbed by the neck through a wall. Like, it's just a big fight scene, but it's wonderfully drawn. It's wonderfully choreographed. I mean, what more can you expect out of these Sakamoto days? Undead Unluck, chapter 190. Goodbye, Gold. Hello, Platinum. Goodbye, Platinum. So yeah, the chapter begins with Gold being dead. Platinum comes in to, avenge his big brother. And, of course, Fuko, trying to abscond with Julie out of the area, is not really wanting to take on this fight. However, Julia is really concerned and demanding to know more about this Juice character because clearly Fuko knows. Fuko tries to say, I'll explain this later, but Julia isn't having it, threatening or demanding to have a fight to get the information, as well as threatening to get herself eaten by Platinum if not allowed to get her challenge in. Of course, Fuko then kills Platinum, but the two then decide to have a duel with fencing. Oh, neat. And of course, it goes just about as you expect it. Julia just can't get a hit, and even after she demanded 100 bouts, she still can't do it until the 99th. She's able to, get a little cut made on Fuko's outfit, on Fuko's uniform, touches her in a desperate bid to get some unluck to happen. The facility almost collapses on top of them, but thankfully Gina's there to protect them. However, this allows Julia to get one hit in, and Fuko then explains what Juice is to her in a loving and kind of hoye moment, where they kind of bond over their love of a person who Julia actually is deep down, with it ending with Flying Nimbus coming in, Fuko sweeping Julia off her feet, and then going, okay, now we're going to go to Brazil to find Top. It's good. Great chapter, funny beginning with Platinum coming in immediately after Gold and being bodied all the same, and with the actual fencing bout, which, hey, Ayako from Martial Master Asumi, this is what fencing is. Man, this is accurate. I mean, from the uniforms and helmets to the actual field of play being properly lined, to the fact that they're using saber and not just epee or foil, and you can actually see even the curve of the top of the blade, and they even have a little wire that attaches to the back, which is actually sending an electronic signal through the sword in order to connect to the point machine, so they know that they pointed. They don't have a ref counting what counts as a hit. They're going for shoulder blows or blows to the head. Now, of course, Julia cheats in the middle by throwing her sword at them, which is not regulation, but we're not really in a regulation match. But still, anyway, a lot of the accuracy is commendable for those, as well as it just shows Fuko being a really great character, just going with this kind of like overbearing nonsense because she's overbearing herself, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So, great chapter. Next time we're getting your boy Top by going to Brazil to pull him out of Brazil because Brazil is a problem. My Hero Academia, chapter 411. Huh. With the title of History's Greatest Villain, it makes me wonder if Hitler exists in the My Hero universe. Anyway, the chapter is mainly focused on the fight with Shigaraki. We actually see him taking danger sense away from Deku, and then use it against him as Deku's trying to, manage his power, manage one for all to fight him, and then of course having it backfire when Shigaraki uses his own quirk against him. Shigaraki then blasts Deku across the country, all the way to the foot of Mount Fuji. The team, all the predecessors, start strategizing in his head in ways of dealing with Shigaraki, when of course Shigaraki enters the scene, breaking the world apart as he even touches down and walks towards him. This poses a problem because Mount Fuji is not just a mountain, it's a volcano, an active one for that matter, though dormant at the moment. And yeah, any wrong move and that triggers an eruption, and that eruption would destroy the entire country. So yeah, up against a wall, Deku is now facing down the biggest bad he could ever face down in the situation, literally forcing him to make a decision about how he proceeds this fight. Does he basically hold the line and try to negotiate the human out of Shigaraki, or does he have to kill the man? ending the life of a person he possibly could have saved. Deku is leaning on the former. He's seeing a person somewhere inside of Shigaraki's messed up worldview. So, hey, this chapter is gorgeous. Just good lord, the line art, the negative space and positive space used. It's just, my god, Horikoshi can draw, man. Like, there's so little else I can say that just boggles the mind how well he's able to put these together. Shorter chapters, mind you. I'm upset that he's not, like going for the full amount. I'm worried about his health more than anything else, though. So I'm glad to see he's at least able to pull out this amount of chapters with this like intensive art and really making Shigaraki like come out as a real big threat. I mean, granted, he's been a threat since he came out of the chamber and in the previous big arc. So it's pretty impressive how just dangerous he feels when he's illustrated like this. And yeah, we're possibly going to be losing a few more people and a few more powers. I'm actually thinking this might end with Deku basically being generally powerless, but still able to pull something out of Shigaraki, the person that he is, not just the monster that he's become. So, good stuff. Really looking forward to seeing the next and possibly final act of this story. And that's going to do it for this week. Yeah, a little early this week, and unfortunately it's going to be out for a while. Like, we're not going to be getting another Shonen Jump for another couple of weeks, actually. Somewhere on the 21st. So, hey, either way, good chapters for the new year. A good start out for everything. One Piece is fucking amazing. My Hero is really good, too. A lot of the later stuff I reviewed here is pretty peak. I would say, again, Kagurabachi getting better. Really showing that it's got legs. Seriously hope that it survives. Other things look like they're going to die. I'm hoping one of those is Cypher Academy. But anyway, hey, like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Hey, it's a new year. Time for some resolutions. Time to read more comics. Yeah, that's a good one. Bye!